Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we move on towards the next panel discussion where we are going to have insight on balancing the data storage between private and public. Well, this is basically private versus public. So we have the first moderator, Mr. Murugesan Navaneethakrishna, former Director General, Central Power Research Institute, to be the moderator for the session. A panelist, Mr. Jatinder Singh Pabla, SVP Sales Marketing and CEM, STT, GDC India, Mr. Mohammad, Ghouse Mohideen, Technology Advisory for GSI, Global Alliances, DELL, Mr. Sudipta Saha, Practice Lead, Plant Engineering and Operations, Accenture, Mr. Manu Srivastava, Director and Sales Head, Oracle Cloud, Oracle. So welcome all the panelists. I hope we're going to have a great session. And Mr. Murugesan would be joining in just a minute. Before that, if you would like to just have a quick chit chat among the panelists.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope we are all visible.
Most of us.
Okay.
Very good afternoon, everyone, and hope you're keeping safe. Nice connecting you all virtually. And this is happening as usual. That's the best part. Thank you so much.
Sudipta and Mohideen, we met yesterday. Jatinder, good to see you. Long time. You're on mute.
Yeah, that is the most heard phrase, right? You're on mute. Yeah, nice to see you after a long time. It's okay to be on mute. It's rather not okay to be not on mute. That is what interests.
Mr. Murugesan is yet to come, right?
Mr. Manu, I would request you to please start the session because Mr. Murugesan would take another few minutes to join in. He has some technical issues, so if you can please start the session.
Oh, we can start the session, but I think this is mostly a Q&A session. So
we can start with intro.
Yeah.
That is the best thing we can do ourselves, right? Without
fillers. Yeah,
fillers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Sudipta.
Okay. Thanks.
All the best. All the best.
Thank you, everyone. All right. Thanks for giving me the privilege to introduce myself first. So, good afternoon, everyone. I think it is great to meet in this kind of online summit. I was just wondering that when I last met anybody in person, I was hoping that will happen very soon. But just today morning, I heard that lockdown in Bangalore is going to be extended again. So, so you have to live with this. Just talking about myself, I'm working with Accenture for last 10.5 years, which is about 1/3 of my total experience. Have been in industry in the utilities, energy sector for a very long time, worked with EPC and owners both. In Accenture, my role is I lead what we call as plant engineering operations, which actually focuses on asset-intensive industry, but heavy focus on power and utilities. So I do a lot of projects for utilities clients, specifically transmission and distribution clients and DISCOM especially. I am also part of an organization which is called Cloud First and Industry X in Accenture. So it is basically kind of a marriage between the three most important elements of the digital revolution that is happening in this industry now. One is Industry 4.0, the second is AI, and third is cloud, right? So I'm lucky to have be in the intersection of all these three. So that is why I'm here, and I would like to share some of my experience in this forum. I pass it on to you, Manu, and the rest of the other people.
Yeah, I think Mohideen, Jatinder, you guys should come up and introduce yourself here.
Sure.
Yeah, Jitin, maybe.
I think Mr. Murugesan has also joined in. Sure, I'm Jatinder.
So,
Singh
Mr.
Pabla.
Murugesan, we have taken your job since you were late.
Yeah.
So we acquired, hostile takeover of your job, and we are running the show.
No, I think you can take over now from us. I finished my intro.
We are just introducing ourselves. So, Mohideen, please go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Manu and Mr. Murugesan. This is Mohammad Ghouse, Mohideen. I'll quickly introduce myself. In a short of time, I'll keep it to a minute. I'm a technology advisor at DELL Technologies, leading the GSI Global System Integrator verticals and as well as the industry verticals globally. In the past, I have been heading the Technology Innovation Center for L&T Smart World and Communications. I've been the global architect for most of the smart cities project in India, almost 23 projects, and as well as the smart utilities, including the ESL 5 million smart meter. And prior to L&T, I was with Tata Power for about a decade, working with Tata Power in Mumbai and as well as at Tata Power Solar, Bangalore. That's briefly me. I'm an enterprise architect by certification, and as well as I'm an electrical engineer by background. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Murugesan.
Jatinder?
Yeah, hi. Am I audible?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Jatinder Singh Pabla, and I manage sales and marketing for STT GDC, which is Singapore Technologies Telemedia.
Mr. Murugesan, you're on mute.
Hello. Yeah, Mr. Murugesan is on mute this time. So some of you would have known us as TCL's data center business. So STT acquired Tata Communications data center business around 4 years back, and that is how we are now present in India. So we hold almost 1/3 market share in India with 21 data centers spread across 9 cities. Before STT GDC, I was in Microsoft for almost 14 years, and then Wipro, HP, almost a quarter century of experience handling the Indian market. That's all from my side.
Nice. I think Mr. Murugesan, I think you probably can take back your job.
Hi, my name is Manu Srivastava. I look after the cloud vertical in Oracle for government public sector space. I've spent almost 24 years plus in the industry. All throughout my life, I've been into customer-facing role, mostly quota carrying and revenue roles. And here, my primary charter in Oracle is to take the flag of Oracle Cloud and help customer and partners embark the cloud journey. Prior to Oracle, I was with Microsoft, and I was looking after the enterprise business and Microsoft consulting services into very high-end, enterprise segment and government segment as well. So it was a mixed segment I was handling. Before Microsoft, I had spent a reasonably good amount of time with Wipro, and there also I was into solutions and consulting for public sector. And then before Wipro, I was with IBM, and with IBM I was with enterprise software, helping the enterprise large customer, with the software and other associated offerings from IBM. So that, in nutshell, is my journey. I would just like to add that in Oracle, from last almost 15 years, I've been with Oracle. One of my favorite and key focus segment is power and utility, and we have done a reasonably good job in power and utility. worked very closely with a lot of discoms. Almost 16 to 17 discoms in our country run on Oracle. And we have, it's a long journey with discoms, right from triple DRP to RAP DRP to DSP, different parts in this journey. We have been with the customer and partners all throughout. This discom and power and utility segment is undergoing massive transformation and heading to poised to a very big growth and transformation. And that's an opportunity for all of us to work closely and help the utility and power segment in our country to take the giant leap and move on to the next level. So I guess this is what we'll be talking to. Thank you.
Yeah. Hello.
Go ahead, Mr. Murugesan. Yeah.
There is some noise in the background.
There's some feedback, I think maybe others can put it on mute.
Yeah. I think morning inauguration, they have given me my introduction. It's still, I will take only 1 minute of my time. Friends, my name is Murugesan. I worked as finally before retirement, I worked as a Director General, Central Power Research Institute, Bangalore, which has about 7 laboratories across the country. In fact, I've spent about more than 42 years in both the distribution company and research institute across various verticals. And the last 20 years, I was working on, more than 20 years working on only on IT related, the automation related things in power systems. And the first time in 2000, way back in 2002, I as a project leader, I mooted the idea of a common protocol for metering standards. Although there was a 779 was available, but the protocol was not uniform. So there was a problem in this one. So I set up first laboratory in Asia complying with the DLMS standard 62056. And with that one, we could be able to develop lots of meter manufacturers to come up with this particular standard. Then we introduced IS 15959 also introduced. I was a member. And finally, I was a chairman to introduce this smart meter 16444 in 2015. And I was a chairman of smart grid trials under the Ministry of Power. And also, I was a member in drawing a specification in RAPDRP, though I was involved with the APDRP. And there was no consensus on the data format like that. So we traveled for a very long time for last 20 years to bring it to this level of smart meter as of now. Today we talk about it. And I set up the laboratory for 61850, and we introduced lots of standards on SCADAs at the national level. So friends, this is a really a burning problem, especially data collection, standardization, and afterwards, now we are seeing lots of rollout in the form of smart meter rollout is going to take place. So we would have taken about 15 years ago, we would have done it a very long, good work as done in Europe. But various reasons we could not be able to move forward because standardization became a major issue on that. So friends, now what happened? Now there is no other choice. We could have made a wonderful things in India because we have large base and technology, people, resources, everything was available. But still, we could not be able to make a headline on this. But no other choice. We need to go for one of the building block is basic building block is AMI, then meter, smart meter coupled with the AMI. So this is the only business case as of now, the 7 layers. This is a business case. It will give you money. Everybody knows. It was demonstrated even way back 15 years ago. ENEL, Italy, they were going for very large 3 million unit rollout. AMR at that time it was called, and was very successfully working. Now there is no other choice. We need to go for meter automation. AMI is a first solution, and already gist of the problem, and already we have done under RAPDRP, at least the transformer level monitoring is done, and DLMS protocol is done. Lots of data is generated. So in addition to that, now we are coming with the DISCOMs, the distribution automation systems. It is again generating lots of IT related things. Then the billing related data. Then now another player is there. Electric vehicle is coming to picture. Friends, the data generated in a utility is enormously going to be a bigger challenge. I do not know how we are going to do that. So the good option is that the cloud option is a wonderful option. Every time the technology never leave us. But only thing is we need to take the technology and leverage it. So friends, it is all the more important the data generated in a distribution utility or transmission utility is enormous. We talk with the AMI or distribution automation or SCADA. Now electric vehicle is really mind-boggling because the millions of machines comes into picture. Your charging station, your billing system, your vehicles, and discharging. Friends, it is going to take hell out of it. And again, that storage systems coming to picture, and the rooftop solar is coming. So friends, without proper IT system and backups, things like that, it will go for a toss. So friends, this cloud is a must. There is and leveraging is a very, very important thing. And how far we are geared up and how quickly we do that. So there are various models available, whether it is a private or public or hybrid, all such things are available. In fact, morning, a speaker from Germany, she made a good presentation. So now the people are aware of that, what are all the options available. Now, without losing time, I straight away go to our panelist. I go and serially, I will go that, so that everybody gets this thing like that. So first question is to Mr. Srivastava ji. This is one is that how do we strategize and plan a hybrid cloud model for our DISCOMs? What are some of the important points to consider here? You take 10 minutes for 3 questions. It will come in a serially. Everybody gets one question each. Please go ahead.
Sorry.
I think Mr. Srivastava, you are mute.
Srivastava ji.
Yeah.
First question.
So I heard
Should
your
I
question.
repeat it?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I heard the question.
Your voice is not clear, sir.
Is it better now?
Very, very feeble. You can talk slightly louder. I do not know.
I think it's better maybe.
It's better now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is okay.
All right. So I heard your question, Mr. Murugesan. Although the explanation and the answer is very, very vast, but in the interest of time, I'll try and restrict to key points. You see, the hybrid is a very, very vast term, and it has different implication, different meaning, and with reference to different DISCOMs, they will interpret it in a different manner, because not all DISCOMs are at the same level right now in terms of manual or automation or partial automation, and technologies are different. So my 2 or 3 bullet points for this answer would be, we as industry leaders are not going and telling the DISCOMs to go for a big bang approach and do the cloud entirely, put everything on cloud overnight. First of all, it is not possible. Second thing, it is not advisable. So, but the challenge here is that because of the regulatory compliance or direction from the center, Ministry of Power, or their own reasons, most of the DISCOMs are, grappling with a lot of challenges, losses, disruptions. So it is okay to look at a hybrid approach and start putting certain workloads on cloud in a phased manner, so that at least some amount of your IT infrastructure is into OPEX mode, and you have to start planning in a phased manner how much and how and when and in what fashion you will convert from capex to opex model. That is from the financial standpoint. From the technology standpoint, you will have to adapt to those attributes which are open standards and follow the industry benchmark. Otherwise, you will be restricted to the proprietary thing, and in cloud, proprietary is not a good thing. You should be open. You should not be in the clutches of any particular OEM or product. I would say hybrid. Couple of use cases would be, you can look at putting your DR on cloud. If not DC, all of a sudden, you can look at your database consolidation and putting database onto a cloud, or maybe you can run database into a on-prem DC, and at least the database can data management or data structure can be put on DR can be on cloud. Mr. Murugesan talked about data. Data is the biggest crude oil on which all discoms and utilities are sitting on. There is a lot of insights into it. Vital inferences can be found out from those data, and that can give you a lot of pointers to take meaningful decision, proactive decision, and decision wherein it will be supported by AI and MLs of this world, which is the next generation cloud technologies offering, which may help you to reduce your losses and control the many uncontrollable moving parts. It will also help you to be compliant with various standards. So that could be a good start. So my very brief answer would be hybrid cloud is a good thing to think for, and you are not necessarily go for a big bang approach. And you can start identifying certain workloads which can be put on cloud. Another trigger point could be if you are heading towards end of life of hardware, or you are running your workload and application on expired hardware which is already end of life. You may want to look at putting those things onto the cloud and look for infra IES solution to start with.
Thank you very much. Actually, each one will be given only 3 minutes, so slightly I would request everyone. Yeah. So next question is that what are the challenges faced by the utility companies, especially discoms, compelling them to move to cloud? This question goes to Mr. Sudipta Saha. Mr. Sudipta?
Sorry. I think I was page. Thank you. I heard your question. So I think the question is that what are the challenges that the discoms are facing, which is kind of compelling them to move to the cloud. So I'll divide this into 4 areas, though there are many, but I think I'll talk about 4 of them. First, let me talk about the infrastructure obsolescence. Now, if you look at the amount of computing power that is needed in today's world, that is huge, right? Not because of the data that is you are continuously adding, but also because of the fact that amount of devices that is getting connected continuously, and that is real time. So I think the structure, whatever planning you do about your infrastructure, it is bound to be obsolete after some time. With a continuous basis, the more devices getting added and more data getting generated. So that is obviously compelling the discoms and the utility sector to move to the cloud. The second thing which I would like to focus on, what is happening in today's world, is the energy transition, right? I think if you see the most of the regulatory bodies have it, most of the countries have a target of moving to the net zero carbon economy, which also kind of compel them to change the whole generation pattern, hooking up more renewables, which have a variability of production. So which kind of makes it mandatory for them to take the advantage of cloud, right? And of course, the other thing is there is a decarbonization agenda which kind of compels them to move away from the hardware, the network, and all this, which is all source of the carbon, right? So basically, moving to a kind of hardware, moving everything to cloud also can help in the decarbonization agenda. The third thing which I would like to talk about is the agile customer base, right? So if you look at the kind of customers that are getting added, and it is not just consumers, there many of them are prosumers. So which means that and the variability of the demand, right? I mean, definitely pandemic has changed the whole demand pattern heavily. I mean, if you see, for example, the one of the major consumer was the corporate sector. Today, if you see, most of the people are working from home. So the whole demand pattern is changing. Again, it's a harnessing challenge. Now, how you cater to that. Definitely, the cloud is an option. And the last one, which I would like to mention, is the DES. All the DES, definitely, they are, I think Mr. Manu Srivastava also mentioned, I think they are kind of also forcing us to move to the cloud. So these are the four things I would like to highlight. Though there are many, but I think these are the main ones.
Yeah, good, sir. Because each question is only 2.5 minutes only.
Sure.
So because you will get three questions, you will get it. So I am worried about it now. Thank you very much, Mr. Sudipta. And the third question goes to Mr. Ghouse. Globally, which are the applications that utilities are adopting cloud? Can you throw some light on Mr. Ghouse?
Surely, Mr. Murugesan, thanks for passing that query.
Yeah.
Should we see across the G, T, and D business within the utilities? Globally, the trend has been, the applications facing unstructured data is predominantly the consumer-facing analytics and workforce management, customer support, and including the energy trading and markets applications. So these are predominantly seen to be on public clouds. Right, and as well as when you see about the unstructured data-wise, ERP, my friend spoke about, data lake, billing applications, asset management. So these have been seen in private cloud, and when you see the trend in utilities with respect to the OT and the IoT systems or industry IoT systems, these have been largely retained in on-premises. They always feel that's the gold data and that's the gold system to be retained on premises. And perhaps it's the confidence level of the utilities to move to the private cloud and public cloud. And this space is again opening up. The OT SCADA systems or the meter management systems have been opening up. They're largely seen migrating from on-premises systems to the private cloud. So it's happening in baby steps. But yes, there have been cases, there have been references which the utilities can harness and then follow the role model. While you have a cloud journey to follow, we can always adapt them.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Within time, you have kept it. Thank you very much. And friends, next question is to Mr. Sri Jatinder Singh. What are your views on data residency or data localization? How are providers scaling up your infrastructure in preparation for that? Should I repeat it, Mr. Jatinder?
Sure, thank you. No, I got the question. It is primarily about data residency, data localization.
Yes.
So we can actually look at this entire topic in three different ways. So technically, commercially, and then legally. Technically, storing data locally definitely allows for reduced network latency. So in most cases, the performance improves when the latency reduces. So that is a clear technical advantage. Commercially also, what we have seen is that there can be advantages of both data localization. Storing data locally. One second, give me 1 second. I have just 1 second. Yeah. These are some of the advantages and disadvantages of working from home. I have 4-legged sons.
No, no problem. Carry on.
So technically I already answered. Commercially, we see that there are advantages of data localization. So storing data locally provides Indian businesses with skilled talent at a lower cost. We know that this is a clear advantage when it comes to India. Then comes the legal and regulatory driver. So there are mandatory guidelines, specifically in government, there are mandatory guidelines. In online payment, there are mandatory guidelines. In telecom, which is also very closely related to utilities, there are mandatory guidelines of storing data locally. And there are a few upcoming bills also which are coming up, which require that a copy of personal data that needs to be stored within India, and in that respect, even utilities will find it very relevant, because much of the data in utilities would be personal in nature as well for a person. So I think all these guidelines will push further enable India or Indian organizations and utilities to have local data or localization of data. And it will also enable India to maintain its stature as a safe country to handle and process personal data. The providers are scaling up. We are building capacities in advance. Hyperscalers are building capacity in advance. Co-location providers are building capacities in advance. And as the requirements increase, I think the utilities can be rest assured that the providers will have ready infrastructure for them to take advantage of. So that's my take on that.
Thank you very much. And the second round, the question goes to Mr. Srivastava. There is a huge thrust on smart meter projects across all states in India. What would cloud play in helping these projects, and why cloud is better option compared to the on-premise? Again, 2 minutes up. Sorry,
Murugesan, I think a very apt question at this point of time.
Yes.
While grappling with all other challenges, DISCOMs also have a very big charter to embrace the smart meter project in a very, very fast mode. And that is point number one. And not only go for the smart meter project, but ensure there is a seamless integration with their RMS, which is billing application, and thereby taking care of two very important entities, which is HES and MDM. So this is the complete cycle which they have to complete. Now, smart meter has many attributes to it. When you look for a smart meter project, there is a smart meter, which is a device which needs to be installed. It has to send data in pulses, which is real-time data. Data has to be captured in HES, then MDM, and ultimately it has to terminate at RMS. A lot of data flow happens in real-time mode, which requires a very, very robust and scalable infrastructure. Now, I'll just take 2 steps back. Suppose in older days, if we had to size the data center or infrastructure, you will go to the application vendor and understand the entire throughput required and the IOPS and all those parameters you take into consideration. You will come up with a proper sizing. It is static in nature. Then you will prepare a bill of material, and then we'll go and procure that hardware, and you will deploy and run. Then came the era where people said, okay, we will do the investment, sir, and we will run it for you, and we'll give you SLA. Now, when we talk about smart meter and the subscribers, which is incremental in nature, we all know that. Nobody can control it. It is incremental in nature. It can be decremental also in nature, depending upon how that project is conceptualized and it has landed on the ground. Which means what we are saying, there is a huge degree of unpredictability and non-standards coming on the way as we move forward. How will you ensure that your backend IT infrastructure, wherein all your workloads will actually be deployed, is always available? Always, there is no downtime, there is no outage. They work in tight integration, and they are available when you need it, how much you need it, and wherever you need it. It is not possible with the older architecture. Hence, this one-line answer is that cloud is the only remedy and only solution for such large, ambitious mega project. Point number one. Point number two, it also helps you control your cost, because when there is ambiguity and uncertainty, you cannot predict the cost. They will always have a cost and time overrun. So you need a system which dances to your tune. In other words, it works in a perfect rhythm to your external, unpredictable, unforeseen circumstances, and that is possible only with a mechanism or a system which is pretty elastic in nature, and cloud
Good,
is elastic. So
good, sir.
yeah, so these are some of the things I would say. There's no rocket science. How we do it and what fashion we have to do, that is something more of a tactical thing. But it is amply clear that projects like smart meter and all must be conceptualized with a cloud. It could be a combination of public and private cloud. That's fine. But OPEX based planning is the safe and right thing to go ahead with projects like smart meter. I think so.
Yes, sir. Then our next question goes to Mr. Sudipta. What are the key elements to be considered by DISCOMs as part of cloud migration strategy?
Sure.
Yeah. Again, 2 minutes.
I'll just try to stick myself to 2 minutes. So I think this whole cloud migration strategy is a journey, right? So I don't think if I say that it can be done in one day, big bang, definitely it's not going to happen. I think there are some of the very important elements which DISCOMs particularly need to keep in mind. I would call out 4 different bullets here. The first is that whichever cloud provider they choose, right, they have to make the best use out of it. There is nothing like this cloud is the only solution for him, and that is the other one will not work, right? Everybody has certain, whether you are they're going for IS or PS or SaaS. I mean, everything, there are certain components which they can leverage. So they need to know that what is there to be provided from the cloud provider. That is number one. Number two is that you have to, DISCOMs have to industrialize the journey, right? Now, it is not something like a complete portal moving to cloud or some ERP application moving to cloud. You need to have this across all levels of your IT/OT integration. So you have to see that all the functional side is well covered in this journey. The third element, that you have to think about security from day one. You can't do this only when you are close to your migrating everything onto production. I think you have to think about the security from day one. You have to talk about all the aspects. Where is the vulnerability? Where you can have a ransomware attack? What are the other elements which are hooking up to your system? So you have to think comprehensively. And the last but not the least, that you allow your team, allow your people to adapt the new. You give them time, you let them experience the system, see what is there to offer, let them be used to it, so it doesn't become a sudden shock to them. Let them be used and kind of visualize them with the cloud. I think these are the 4 things I would call out.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful, sir. The second question goes to Mr. Ghouse. What would be the percentage savings in terms of investments and manpower usage in going for public, private, or hybrid cloud? Over to Mr. Ghouse.
Yeah, you can call me Ghouse. That's good.
Ghouse, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, good question. And because this is what utilities, especially the DISCOMs, are looking at. What is the saving? I've been adapting. You're asking me to adapt cloud. probably cloud is the way to go, but what is the saving? How do I optimize my investment and as well get the better benefit out of it? And how do I optimize my manpower and as well as save the operating cost in this journey? Right. So if I have to drill down into quickly 2-3 bullets, at Dell Technologies, we have seen the customers have almost reduced adopting the hybrid or be it private cloud journey or public cloud journey. They have almost saved the operating cost between 23% to 64%. And this is an IDC report which I can share with you later. And the deployments have happened 92% faster than the traditional methodologies. And the downtimes have reduced from a significant number to the 54%, right? So which is huge, and if you all convert these percentiles into a tangible number, it is really significant. And to again put it in simple terms, businesses should, or utilities and discoms should focus on the business outcomes and their own business, and then more leave the IT part to the cloud and as well as the private cloud managers. And that's where even Dell Technologies offers a managed services. So we say that you provide the IT to us, and then we'll provide the business outcome to you. So you focus on the business outcome. You don't have to really worry about that part. So the savings naturally come in terms of a true value to your business outcome. You can correlate that what is that per meter rollout would cost me. Rather thinking about what is the licenses of cloud. How much storage does it take? So you can very well correlate the numbers and then see the benefits. And traditionally, what we have seen from the traditional implementations of smart meters to the current implementations, at least at the current scenario, right? There have been significant savings to the tune of about 70%. That's really magnanimous. I would say this is really a great number to see. And then if you look at optimizing the whole services and focus only on the business, and then leave the IT to the cloud part, and there are much more cloud providers today, I think you can save a lot. It's 70% is just a number. You can further go down.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ghouse. And that second question to Mr. Jatinder. There is an increased attack on enterprise infrastructure, including denial of service attacks, ransomware, phishing, credential stuffing, and other type of attacks. What steps are the provider taking to counter these threats? Mr. Jatinder?
Yeah, I heard the question. I was just unmuting myself. Just give me a minute. Sure. So thank you for that question. I can give you a glimpse of what we are doing as a provider. We run, as I said, 21 data centers across 9 cities all across India, and then more than 100 data centers across world. And as a provider, we have to ensure that our infrastructure is secure, because lots of most critical applications and enterprises run their infrastructure on our facility. So these include banks, utilities, hyperscalers. So we fully understand the responsibilities around security. Our customers, so it's a joint engagement. The security is one where providers and customers have to work hand in hand, and specifically when it comes to co-location service or data center service provider like us. We build the network security, we build a secure co-location data center infrastructure, and our customers build their application and security layers, the application security layer on top of that. I can just tell you what all things which we do. For example, there are a couple of key things which we have to do to ensure that the infrastructure itself is secure, the data center itself is secure. One, the NOC is very important when it comes to a 24/7, 365 NOC, which has a skilled team of data center experts latching onto all the critical infrastructure is something which is very critical. And that is very critical for every enterprise. A NOC, whether it is application to monitor application or whether to monitor infrastructure, a NOC is we are very important, 24/7 by 365. Second, the infrastructure or the threat to the application doesn't only come from application side; it also comes from infrastructure, and that is specifically true with utilities. We have seen how SCADA was used in the past to disrupt the entire utility infrastructure. So, and similarly, the data centers are also vulnerable in that sense because we also use infrastructure to serve our customers. So what we do is that each infrastructure and IT component is enabled for centralized monitoring and management, including systems like SCADA, building management system, chiller plant management system. We use things like advanced threat protection system to ensure that these are monitored, and the moment we see any issue, or even in terms of predictive monitoring, we take actions at the right time. There are redundancies built across data centers so that if something fails in one data center, in terms of monitoring, the other data center is able to take care of that. Another data center able to start monitoring the entire infrastructure, and that is very important in these scenarios. And nothing can replace all the experience which organization builds. We ourselves are running these services for 14 years. So the organizations or the providers will have to have robust practices, real world practices with around patch management, cybersecurity, business continuity, authentication, and infrastructure management. So to ensure that things are secure. So all the tools and processes they together ensure that providers are always in control of what's happening, and they take corrective actions in either in a predictive way or in a much faster and automated way.
Okay, very nice. And friends, what happens? There are questions coming in this question answer session. There is a question from a distribution company, which asked a question to Mr. Manu. What is required to migrate applications to your cloud? Over to Manu.
Okay, so thank you for that question. Application is a workload, and we have to first assess that what is this application? Does it have dependency on other application? Then we also have to take into consideration the database which it is using, and we need to plan the lift and shift exercise, which is what we call in cloud parlance. So basically, an application which is running in an on-prem mode has to be now deployed onto the cloud mode. So some of the things which you have to take into consideration is the what is that throughput you are wanting, what is the security aspect of the cloud, compatibility, and whether my application will run on that platform or not. In other words, you can say whether it is certified for that cloud or not. And then obviously you need to find out what is the nature of that application. Is it a application which has to be available 24/7, 365, or it is application which is 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 kind of thing? Is it an application which doesn't needs to be available on gusted holiday, weekends, festival? So those are some of the attributes you have to figure out, which will decide the in what mode or what is the level of availability and construct you are looking to the cloud. These are input data which will help your architect and implementer to design the cloud migration in a much better and a safer manner. Another thing is that you may come across a situation that application is growing and it is uncontrolled. For instance, smart meter, your project you are doing. You are not sure as and when the subscribers or smart meters will increase, the load on application will also increase. So these are some of the checklists which you have to be ready with, which will be a part of more of a discovery exercise. which will help you to plan and architect a better cloud infrastructure for your application. So in short, this is what I would say at the moment. Of course, the justification and discussions are very huge, but yes, we can always catch up and do a very deep dive session for you. Another very last important thing I would say, please try and see with every cloud service provider that are they just selling and providing this cloud services to you via a partner and running away, or you can have a mechanism where the CSP also has a skin in the game, which means let the CSP also be a part of this project and this great initiative where CSP also takes some level of ownership or responsibility for this migration, because this is a very, I say cloud is actually in other words, it's a disruption. You are actually creating a disruption in infrastructure. So the skin in the game for OEM, for the CSP is something you should also look at.
Thank you, sir. Sir, and another question to Mr. Sudipta. How does that national and international regulations are mandating the utility companies, discoms to move into cloud? Just maybe 1 or 1.5 minutes.
Sure. I think that's a great question. Thank you. Whoever has asked that question. Am I audible? I hope I am, right?
Please.
Okay. So I think if you see that today the sustainability is one of the biggest agenda for the most of the countries, right? And if you look at various aspects of sustainability, I think decarbonization comes definitely at the top, and which is leading into two major things, I would say. The first is that that how this whole this power source is moving from the traditional fossil fuel to renewable sources. Obviously, the renewable sources have variability in nature, and that is where the cloud plays a very important role. The other aspect, again, the carbon footprint that is created because of. Am I audible?
Yeah, audible.
Is created because of the hardware and all the devices. I think when you move to the cloud, definitely there is a way to control it. I think so. I will call out these two things are the major things which is kind of compelling a lot of discoms to move to the cloud. There are many, but I think looking at the time constraint, I will stick to this two.
Wonderful. And third question to Mr. Ghouse. Though we know that plus minus of public, private, hybrid like that. So the question is to you, what are the drawbacks of the public cloud?
Impressive. I mean, I wouldn't be nailing it down because it's like speaking bad mouthing about public cloud, but that's not the intent. But let's discuss about the drawbacks. I mean, irrespective of mentioning it.
Ghouse, that came from the audience, not from my side.
Excellent. Okay, great. So, yeah. So, couple of drawbacks from the public cloud. Should you see, firstly, is you're locked to an hyperscaler infrastructure. Number one, right? You pick up anything. By and large, if it is the technology that is in use with you, and you're making an best investment of your existing infrastructure, connecting to it, and then it's making sense to you, then it is good. But if not, then you lose in the consistency in infrastructure and consistency in operations which means success to any customer. And if you hand over that consistency part to a cloud provider, then you are naturally locked to the cloud service provider, right? That's one. And number two, you have a heavy lock with the hyperscalers when it comes to ingress and egress charges. While you're moving the data all around, and this is an hidden cost, and usually people don't discuss this upfront. I have seen the bandwidth cost never comes at the first place of discussion. We always say what is the server or per VM or what is the storage cost with the hyperscalers, but the bandwidth cost is never discussed upfront. So this is something you may have to think about it. And thirdly, the law of lands, right? You do not know which service is residing within the boundary of this country. And there is a very stringent laws which have been put in place. I mean, my friend Jatinder spoke about it a couple of minutes back. So you'll have to ensure that the services and the data is residing within the boundary of this country, and which is very pertinent for you to look at private clouds and as well as hybrid cloud approaches. I mean, these are the top three I would quickly touch, but yes, we can speak more.
Thank you very much, Ghouse. Thank you very much for your frank opinion on all such. Though you are a manufacturer, but you have given very important points for the end customer to look into this, which is normally the manufacturer may not like to discuss. But as a panelist, I thank you very much for giving the unhindered detail about it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Murugesan, I would like to just add 2 points to what Ghouse has said. Indeed, his points are very valid. But as a customer, the customers have to look at into the market for different CSPs. There are CSPs who are giving a very having a transparent approach toward the egress cost and all, which is predictable and given to customer in perfect transparency. As far as data is concerned, customer can also always look at only MITRE certified vendors, CSPs. That ensures data residency problem is sorted out. So I would say this is important checklist, but the answers are available, options are available in the market in India, and both these points are can be addressed with certain sets of CSPs.
Very important for a customer. Thank you very much. And the last question to Mr. Jatinder. What is the driving cloud growth in India?
Well, there are multiple reasons. There's no single driver, I would say. Today, almost 50% of the infra is already outsourced, whether it is outsourced to public cloud or private cloud. Private clouds are players like us who are providing DC co-location services. And in fact, in India, most of the public cloud players are also leveraging players like us with the private cloud. Multiple drivers. The first set of drivers are your traditional drivers, which includes TCO, scalability, availability, anytime, anywhere access. So people are creating the flexible and hybrid deployment method that leverages both public cloud and co-location services to meet their outsourcing requirement. The second set of drivers which we have experienced in the last 1.5 years is the ongoing pandemic, which has forced every organization to rethink and adopt digital transformation and make it actually work. So it has forced every organization, one, to adopt remote working. So every organization is today adopting cloud-based user productivity tool. On top of that, it has also forced every organization to create and address the real-world BCP and DR scenarios on immediate basis. This immediate addressing would not have been possible without public and private cloud, because it offered the required capacity on immediate basis as and when people required. Otherwise, it would have taken people multiple years to build their own infrastructure. That is a very critical, I would say, enhancer which has come up in last 1.5 years. We already talked about data regulatory requirements. I'm not going to. But there is one more set of emerging driver which is coming into picture, which is AI and ML related. AI and ML can be used in multiple ways, specifically in utilities. For example, predictive maintenance, your smart grids, because it requires huge amount of data, centralized consumer billing application. So AI and ML is forcing many organizations to again move towards cloud. Because again, it requires a spread out infrastructure, it requires huge amount of data, it requires huge amount of computing power, and building this entire infrastructure and then applications on top of that becomes very expensive. Unless the organization is a very big organization. So it is basically democratizing IoT, AI and ML. So cloud has democratized it. So multiple drivers, and it is good to have multiple drivers because then we are sure that it will continue to grow and accelerate in near future.
Wonderful. Friends, we have perfectly completed all our discussion. And finally, a question from audience to Mr. Manu. When it comes to scalability with security, how do we show public or private cloud which is better, such kind of things? I'll repeat it. Actually, our audience has put in a different way. As it is highlighted, when it comes to scalability with security, we consider public or private. I think he is asking about what services do you offer to better manage cloud scale data.
Okay, so as I said, if I talk about Oracle Cloud per se, Oracle, I'll try to answer this question with giving you what Oracle Cloud.
Very quickly, sir. Short. Actually, one more question.
So since Oracle Cloud, we offer cloud services, which is very much scalable in nature, and it is also on demand and pay per use. So which means it is perfectly aligned and in sync with your unpredictable or ever changing needs and requirement. Point number one. Point number two, the cloud is elastic in nature. So if you use the word scale, means you are scaling up in the same fashion. The infrastructure and the real estate will in same tandem will be in sync and will scale up. I will put go one step further. You may also want to scale it down. There are days and months or years where you don't require that much services. So both ways you can toggle, scale up, scale down, depending upon your needs and usage. That may be a straight answer to your question, that is it scalable? Yes. And of course, security is the in the blood of Oracle, in DNA of Oracle. Our entire approach is security first and then anything else. So rest assured, whether it is Oracle or any cloud service provider, they will build in the security element in a very, very stringent manner. Otherwise, nobody will go for cloud.
Okay. Anyway, last question to Mr. Sudipta. Actually, the question come to Sudipta was directed to Mr. Manu. I'm sorry. Because
Sudipta can take it again. Maybe Sudipta, you can take it.
Sudipta, can you take it, Sudipta, or should I go to somebody else?
No, I don't. Can you just tell me the question? I didn't hear the question.
What services do you offer to better?
All right. I think definitely. I think anybody can take it up. So we are the as a CSP, right? So we are not owner of the cloud. Definitely, Manu, you can. Manu, I think if you want to take this up, you can take it because or anybody else.
No, what is that? I didn't get the question. If you can.
What services do you offer to better manage cloud?
Again, Mr. Murugesan, the question is for Mr. Manu actually.
This is for Manu. You want? You can answer that. No problem. What services?
You're saying something? Sorry, I was on mute. I'm so sorry.
I got confused because the questions were coming. So one question, common question I asked you. So the next questions are only for you. So that I thought we can offer to, because everybody is giving services. Then that person is telling that the question is only for Manu. I'm sorry, this question came from the audience. What services do you offer to better manage cloud scale data?
No, I didn't understand that. What services do we offer to better manage cloud scale data?
This is something like, I think it is he sort of maybe that public cloud may be asking that.
No, while I'm not sure what I didn't understand the question, but I'll try to interpret the question as what are the services we are offering in public cloud mode? Can I take?
I repeat the question. What services do you offer to better manage cloud scale data?
Okay. So if it is about data, the services, so data will come from and will sit where in database. So let us talk about how to manage database in a more fastest and secured manner. The traditional way is that you will buy any database license, and that will work in tandem with your application, and then you will have hardware on which your data workload is running, and you would need resources like DBAs and all to manage and take care of your data workload. That is what we used to do yesterday. Now, if we talk about cloud, the same data should be offered to you as a service in a public cloud mode, or for certain customers, if they are not very comfortable to put their data in a public cloud and they have data residency and data entity issues. If I talk about Oracle Cloud, we have solution for offering database as a cloud services through a data ExaCC box, which is a data cloud data machine. We put it at the customer premises behind their firewall, so data stays with customer, and all your data sovereignty and latency issues are gone. Data is still with you, but you are now enjoying the fruits of cloud, and it is offered to you as a public cloud, fully managed and under SLA by Oracle, and you just become the consumer of that data service, whereas the entire database as a service, the hardware, everything is managed by Oracle under stringent SLA. So you see, your database as a cloud, if you want to put your data on cloud, you have two options from Oracle as a cloud service provider. You can put it on the public cloud, or if you are not very comfortable, you can still stay with the data into your premises, but you run as a public cloud. It is an OpEx model. It is a subscription-based service, and you still enjoy the all the benefits of cloud, and data still stays behind your firewall. So, if I understood the question is, if it was data, how to handle data in a private or a public cloud mode, that would be my answer.
Good. So, friends, we have just crossed about 7 to 8 minutes over and above. So, I think with the permission of organizer, we can close our discussion on this particular topic. I would like to thank all the panel members who cooperated so nicely and answered all the questions very systematically, and given what the best answer they can give, they have given. We are extremely thankful to you all panel members. So
Thanks,
thank you,
Mr. Murugesan, for moderating it so well, and thanks to all the panelists for this very, very interactive and such a great discussion. Okay. I think thanks everyone.
Likewise, thank you so much, and nice sharing the space with you all.
Thank you.
A great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.